I just have to check my readout here occasionally. It seems to be working fine. Cooperative Legacy Project interview number 75. Today is May
16th.
16th, yes. I still had the other date on here. We're visiting with Elroy Baker, former manager of the Farmers Union Oil Company at Wikota, South Dakota. Elroy, where and when were you born?
I was born in Hereford, South Dakota, March 11th, 1933.
1933, okay. And where was your family originally from? You got out there that's just a little bit east of Sturgis.
Mm-hmm.
How did they get out there?
Well, my grandpa homesteaded there, and that's how everything started, I guess. So.
Okay. And Baker, what nationality is that? Is that English?
I guess I'm German, Scots, and Irish, I guess.
Okay.
So.
All right. And what was your father's name?
Floyd.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What sort of a person was he? You want to talk about him a little bit?
Well, I guess he's just a farmer and a rancher, and he's served in World War II, so, or World War I. I'll take that back. So.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So.
And your mother, what was her name?
Roxana
Okay. And what was her maiden name?
Mobley.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What about her? What sort of a person was
Well,
she?
she was raised in Tennessee, and my dad met her, and that's how she got out here. So out in the sticks there.
Okay. Okay. What was life like out there at Hereford?
Mm-hmm. We went to town very few times, so and if we did, usually it fixed 2 or 3 tires on the way to town. So we had got poor equipment there. So
Yeah.
So.
You have brothers and sisters?
Yes, I had 4 sisters and 1 brother. All my sisters are dead, and I have 1 brother's alive. He's the only relation I got left. So.
Oh, okay. What are some of your early memories from out there? You mentioned not going to town very often. Was town Sturgis or was town Hereford? Was there anything in Hereford?
Town was the closest town was New Underwood.
New Underwood.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And actually, we just stayed home and worked and raised a big garden. Us kids took care of that. And we broke horses. So I broke a lot of horses. So to work and to ride both. So.
Do you remember much about the 1930s, or that you were just?
I can remember when things were real tough.
Dust storms out there.
Well, I was out of the dust storms. I think 33. That's the early 30s when they had the dust storms.
Yes.
I've dug machinery and stuff out of where the dust had piled up. So.
And I'm going to guess when you talk about having to repair a couple of tires on the way to town, that might have been during World War II when.
And
tires were
then
rationed.
it seemed like we always had very poor tires. We'd boot them and patch them and do it right on the road and pump them up by hand.
Yeah.
That's the way we went. No heaters in the cars, and if we did go in the wintertime, we'd heat rocks and stuff to sit in there, and we'd get cold coming home. But going town, it kept pretty warm. So.
Almost like an old sleigh ride.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard that kind of stories about those. Okay.
Actually, until the later 40s, where we had heaters in any cars. So.
What did you go to country school?
Yep.
What do you remember? What school that would have been?
The Doyle School.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And what was that like?
About 20 kids in a little room. So.
Did you learn anything there?
Well, I don't know if I did or not.
Okay. When you were out there on the ranch when you were a kid, did you want to farm or ranch?
Oh yeah, that's what I wanted to do. So
How big a place did you have there?
The 800 acres.
800 acres. That's kind of small for out there.
It's small, yes.
Even then, probably.
But we had about 300 acres of that as farm ground, which was a pretty good sized farm.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Okay.
that's.
How about high school?
I didn't go to high school.
You didn't go to high
No, I
school.
stayed home on the farm. So
And that was kind of common in those days
Yep.
too. A lot of people who did.
my dad was in bad shape from the army,
Okay.
and he needed the help. So
Okay.
my sisters and all went, but I didn't. So I stayed home.
Mhm. What kind of was it? Injuries from the war? Did he?
He had that flu and survived it.
Oh, the 1918 flu. Okay.
He survived
That
it.
had after effects then, huh?
Yeah, he was in the hospital after he was out of the army for over a year, even so.
Lung problems.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
All right.
he worked some, but he couldn't work very long. So
Where did you meet your wife?
I kind of knew her pretty much all my life.
Okay,
There's
she
only
was
30
from
miles
St.
from us.
Mary.
I knew who she was and stuff. So
Okay. Okay.
it was just 30 miles apart. So
When did you get married?
we got married after I got out of the army in 1957.
Okay. Okay.
Well, this is our 50th year this year.
Oh, all right. All right.
Oh.
What was her maiden name?
Ferguson.
Ferguson. She was from right out there.
Inning. She was from Inning.
Okay. Know where that is. Okay, and you did serve in the military. What
Yeah, I
years
served
was that?
5 years in the army.
From 52 to 57?
I served from 55 to 61.
Oh, okay, 55 to 61.
Yeah,
All right.
Vietnam era.
Okay.
I'm in that. So
Okay, so you would have gone in after the Korean War was over. And,
right. I went in. They sent me into Japan as called a peacekeeper.
Oh, okay.
I went into Japan.
So you were. What was Japan like in those days?
Well, I was stationed right beside a fishing village, and the smell of fish. I don't eat fish or go fishing today. So the flies are so bad in the summertime. It's almost impossible to survive, really. So we pushed them out of the food for a while, but we knew we was eating flies. So
Where was that from? Tokyo?
I was I was on the northern tip of Japan, Hachinohe, Japan.
Okay. Okay.
Just across the edge from Russia. So.
Yeah, not very far off.
No.
Did you worry about the Russians back in those
A
days?
lot of times their planes would get in our area and we'd go on alerts. So
What about the North Koreans?
no, we wasn't bothered with none of
them at
that. No.
all? Okay. All right. And you left the service in 61. That was just about the time we were getting into Vietnam, right?
Right, just when they're getting into Vietnam. I was married and had two kids. I was in the active Army Reserves, and I had two kids. That's the only thing that kept me from going to Vietnam. So
Okay.
kept me out of there. So
Okay. So you get out of the military in 61. Were you still kind of like living at home or out in the Hereford area then?
no,
You were home?
yeah, and at that time was living out there. Yes, I went to work for the co-op or Cynics at Union Center.
Oh, you did?
In '58, right after I got out of the army.
Okay.
I went to work for them right after they started that one.
Yeah, that would have been. I
I was
interviewed,
one of the
Richard Harwood out
first.
there, and-
Yeah, I knew Richard all my life, so
yeah.
so I was one of the first employees there.
Okay.
When it
yeah.
started,
57, I think, is the.
They started in '57, and I went to work in '58 for them.
Wow.
So-
Wow. And I've done some interviews out there and got some pictures of the original facility out there. It was pretty modest compared to later cooperative facilities.
Quonset building,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it worked.
This spring interviewed Jack Smith, who managed out there just a little bit.
I was raised right beside Jack.
Oh, you were? That's
Yeah.
right. He was from Hereford, too.
Yeah, him and I was a mile apart.
Yeah.
We visited almost every day. So
Mm-hmm.
Jack was a little older than me. So
Yeah.
Rob was about my age, if you knew Rob.
Rob, yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Him and I was
Yeah.
him and I was about the same age. So
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah. Okay.
I worked there until '63. Then I came here.
Okay. Now this community is not. It's in a different part of the state, but in a way it's similar to Union Center in that they're both very small places where the co-op was the main thing in town.
They told,
Co-ops. And
I was told when I come down here that, boy, you're going to a different community. The people will be different. You won't have dinner sometimes when you're out in the country with the gas truck.
Yeah.
But I found that not so. It's just, people is the same way here. So same group of people.
Yeah. Okay. I need to kind of. Sometimes we cover more than one question, and I need to scan along a little bit. How about kids? You have kids?
I have 3 kids.
3 kids. Where are they?
A boy and 2 girls. The boy works with me,
Okay. What's his name?
Clyde.
Okay.
He works with me, and I got a daughter that teaches school in Hoven, and she lives in Oneka, Twyla,
Yeah.
Roush, and
Okay.
and then the other daughter lives in Crook, South Dakota, and that's Darcy, and she works for Wells Fargo in the bank.
Okay.
She's in the bank department, loan department,
Banking. Okay.
training department mostly. So
Okay.
she's her trainer. So
Grandchildren?
the what?
Grandchildren?
Yeah, we got 9
9. Oh,
and 2
okay.
great.
Okay. So you first worked out at Union Center, just in that getting started period for them out there, and you end up here in 1963. What? How did you get connected with this co-op?
Well, I was the field rep at that time. Wanted me to come down here. There's an opening in Gettysburg for a manager. And I arrived there at the time I was supposed to that morning, and one of the board members had had a heart attack that night. So their meeting had been called off. And he said, I want to take you and show you a place or two, he said. And we come up here. He said, if you just take this this co-op here for the winter, he said, I'll get you another job in the spring. He said, would like to have somebody to run it for the winter. Well, I started in the work that winter. By spring, I think they had a $62,000 volume the year I came there. And financially, it's in good shape. And by spring, when spring came, I'd already reached $119,000 in sales. I'd almost doubled it. So, and at that point, both kids, or 2 of the kids here, had started school, and I was offered a job in Benson, Minnesota. And they threw a fit, and we stayed here.
Okay, you must have liked this community because you're still here.
Yeah, well, I never had money enough to leave.
Yeah. Yeah. What was the relationship here? You've got 2 co-ops here. You've got an elevator, or you had an elevator and an oil company. What was the relationship between them? Did they work pretty well together?
Oh yeah, real good. The manager and me, the manager, as long as he lived of the elevator, we got along perfect. Everything was perfect. So before I came, he would sell tires and stuff because this one didn't do much, but after I got here, he got out of all that stuff and let me have it in the oil company. So we had a good relationship. So.
Which of the co-ops was the original one here? Was it the elevator or the oil company? Which one?
They was both original, I think. So, but the elevator started way before the oil company.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, the oil company, I believe, it started in 48 or 49. So
okay, and the elevator probably went back to what?
It's quite a while back. So they had. When I came here, they had 3 or 4 managers, over the period of years. So this cooperative here. That I came into had a total of 4 managers for the 60-some years that it survived. I was the number 2 manager, so.
Okay. There were a lot of co-ops like that.
I lasted 23 years in it. So.
I know. Last year I interviewed Ken Stilson up at Britain, and you probably knew Ken. Had out at Hereford, had there been cooperatives out there? Had your family?
No, Union Center is the farmers union when they come in there. It was the first cooperative in that area.
Okay.
People was kind of leery of everything there to start out with. So.
So you kind of get introduced to it as you go to work at Union Center. What did you like about cooperatives?
Well, I thought they was, at that time, I thought they was completely for the people. My beliefs today are not quite that way because it's money now. It is the right idea if they used it right. But
back in the early '60s, what kind of how was it? You mentioned it was really a small volume here, that they had not been doing real well. What were the main kind of issues you had to deal with? Was it difficult to go out in the countryside and get people to
No, I had no problem with that. They had an employee here that he marked off the books with the names on them for me, and he said, "You'll never get this guy or get that guy." I got every one of them. I went and talked to him, and that's all it took.
Had maybe the earlier managers, they had personality
They didn't. No, they didn't push nothing. You know, you got to talk to them. So I had
the board of directors. What was their attitude?
No, it was good. I had a good relationship with the board too.
Okay.
Perfect. So it's they couldn't believe what we done when we started and turned everything around. So they thought they was going under. So
what was the volume by the time you
left here?
Yeah.
When I left in '85, I think about close to 3 million at that time.
From what was it, about
$62,000?
$62,000. That's quite a difference.
Yeah. I had one year that I went backwards a little. In the other 22 years, I gained every year. It had always made a profit outside of that 1 year.
What do you think it takes for in managing a co-op to make sure that you are able to maintain a positive figure? What did you look at? Accounts receivable can be a problem.
Yes, and then that was a problem for them before I came here, and I collected every account they had on it. They couldn't believe that neither. So I had no trouble with accounts receivable. I think in the 23 years I had a bankruptcy. I think I had about a $1,700 loss over that period of time. Is all I had. So.
And those aren't the kind of losses that take co-ops down.
No,
it's
no.
those big ones.
I had the credit. I guess I was maybe a little tougher than probably have to be, but I had no problems.
Well, that was, I think, one of the guiding philosophies of the co-ops as they came out of the 30s, wasn't it? Not to allow too much credit.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. How about people? Who were some of the folks that were on the board of directors here when you started? Do you remember them?
The names of them, yeah.
Yeah.
Nah, let's see. There's a Ernie Niederbaumer's on there. Cooney Rates, Wayne Holsey, Merle Holscher. I can't even remember who the other one was.
How about how many employees did you have back at that time?
They had one part-time.
60. So it was just somebody maybe to be there if you took a truck out in the country?
When I moved here in September, and I went to manager school after that, and I wasn't supposed to have to work till the 1st December when I was supposed to start. And the first day I was here, the manager got sick and the employee was out in Nebraska on vacation. One of the board members come in and said, "Can you haul gas?" Said, "We got gas orders." So I had no idea where I was going, no help. I just took off with the truck and I got it done. So
now there were some of the co-ops back in those days where they would have some sort of a relationship where the manager owned the truck.
right, that's kind of a setup till I come. Then I come in as a paid employee.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and that was it was that way after that. That was kind of
a. I don't think as small as the volume and stuff they could have got a manager. Yeah. That way because it wasn't. He wasn't showing that much that he's making. So.
Sure. Okay. How about the regional? How were they to work with back in those days?
Oh, fine. I got along good with them. So.
Who were some of the field reps that you had to deal with?
The field reps, at that time, Louis Reisenweber was the field rep. Merle Boom. Wilford Wallace. Wolfer's still alive, but Louis and Merle are both dead.
Yeah.
And Rodney Dodge, he's dead.
No, he's not.
He's not?
I interviewed him 2 or 3 weeks ago.
No kidding?
He's 90 years old, lives in Sioux Falls.
He's in Sioux Falls, huh?
Yeah.
I thought he was dead.
No.
Myers, too, was a state rep at that time. Boyd Myers, he's dead, I know that.
Yep.
I'm trying to think. I worked Dean Rassman just a little bit. He's alive yet.
Yes.
But he come in about the time I was getting out, so.
Okay.
On the thing, and oh gosh, there's probably 2 or 3 other ones I can't even think of now. So.
Okay.
The original board and the original field reps when I came here all dead. The original ones.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see here. Did you have, how many employees did you end up with?
Oh gosh, summertime I worked 30 employees sometimes. I put up grain bins, a lot of them. So one year we put up 125 grain bins.
Wow. When did you get into that? Was that something?
I kind of got into it at Union Center. We was doing that. So.
Okay.
And I went out there and put up grain bins in there even. So.
Okay.
I went out there one time and put up 3 of them. So.
All right. All right.
Back in the area I come from.
Did you have any particular approach with working with employees?
Well,
approach to
I guess maybe I was more miserable with the employees than I should have been, probably. But if they didn't work for me very long. If they worked, I said nothing. But if they didn't, they played around. I couldn't take it. So.
Okay.
I went through a lot of employees. I was probably tough. So.
After you left, when did you retire here?
1985.
1985. Okay, and they they didn't quite have managers with as much longevity after you left.
Well, the manager that come in here was one of my employees.
He was okay.
Yeah, So.
Was he here and then until the?
He was here until it went broke. So.
Yeah.
And they spent money like it was water. So.
Okay. Is what you attribute to the co-op going under here then?
It was just overbuying and mismanagement of everything, and the employees they're sitting around not working. So.
Had accounts receivable gotten high? Or?
The accounts receivable got away from them too. They wasn't managing that. So.
It seems to me like I heard something about an annual report that should have shown a real huge loss and didn't. And
after the inventory,
they got the real word, and
they took another inventory. It's altogether different. So.
How could that happen?
Covered up.
Okay. Okay.
I got awful sour on them going under like that. I had $135,000 worth of stock in this company.
Oh, yeah.
And the only thing I'm writing some of it off on income tax, but I took that loss too. So
That's a lot of money.
yes, it shouldn't have been. So
Yeah. Now, was there any kind of a retirement program?
for stock,
Not for stock. But,
I had it set up, and everybody of 75 years old, we retired all the stock.
Okay.
They quit that instantly after I got out.
Oh, okay.
They shut all that stock retirement off. I paid out all the states, and they quit that too.
Okay.
So things changed.
Now, it seems to me like did you have substations?
Yes,
And those
took
there was one in
Wikota.
Fulton, wasn't there?
I took that. I bought the I was in here when we bought the fertilizer plant, and the one in Oneka. We bought that oil company out, and had the 2 substations.
Okay. And then they ended up with Fulton?
Then they just dropped this one and moved everything to Faulkton. Dropped the one in Oneka.
Okay.
They moved to Faulkton. We should have never let it happen here. This is a home place, but we did. So.
Yeah. Who were the board members then
That was on it.
involved in that?
Oh, I don't know. Steve Wick, Noel Pond.
No, that's Bob's son.
Yeah, it's Bob's son.
Bob was on
Bob was on the board with me. Yes, he was.
And his dad was Alex Pond, and he had been a kind of a co-op pioneer of
Yeah, yeah. Alex was a good old guy. So.
Yeah.
Oh, Bob is too.
Yeah.
Well, Noel's a fine guy, but he just was misled here. So.
And then there was no real hope once they got.
No, there's nothing they could do. They just
Yeah.
come in and sold stuff out on pennies on the dollar, so got rid of it.
Yeah. Now, is there any gas station here in town? Then?
Yes, I bought that. One of my employees that worked for me.
Okay.
So-
Okay. Okay. And,
He's running that.
yeah, the elevator. That's part of what now? Is that
That's North Central up here
which is
in Ipswich.
yeah, yeah.
That's what it is now. So.
Okay. Well, you've obviously had some problems around here, but last year we had a speaker at the Co-op Month Band who had talked about co-ops as a quote a market correcting tool. Do you think they do that today? Do they keep the other businesses honest? Do they provide a lever for farmers to have a better chance of getting a fair deal from the market structure? Yeah.
Well, at one time they did. I don't know if they do anymore.
All right. All right.
That's. I think probably what's happened here with a lot of these, and they started that about the time they closed the warehouse in Aberdeen.
Yeah.
Make money. You know, not serve the people. That's what I was taught. So serve the farmer. Like here, they went in the fishing business. You know, that's complete out of our line in this stuff. So
Fishing business.
well, fishing tackle and all that stuff.
Really? I don't know of any co-ops, other ones that have done that. So
Yeah, that don't make sense to me. So
yeah.
you're better off with a bunch of bolts and nuts in there. Serve the people that own it.
I think the elevator here is part of what is known as regionalization now, where the local members have traded in their stock in the local facility for stock in the regional. What do you think about that? I think they have a local an advisory board or something.
I think we're losing control. Is what the local people are losing control on the whole thing. So when it goes that way, just like the Senex owning these stations, they got full control. The farmers don't have a say anymore. When it gets down to that, and they was set up so the farmer controlled them, but a lot of them are not anymore.
When you when you were managing here, what was the competition situation? Were you?
Oh,
we had competition from some of the surrounding co-ops, like the wheat growers.
We had competition but they didn't give me no trouble. So
yeah.
It's like they built that new fertilizer plant in Faulkton, and we built one here about the same time. A lot cheaper setup, but we built one, and he said, "Well, in 5 years he'll have it all." In 5 years, we owned that one he had. He's the one that went under.
Okay. And I guess we have perhaps already kind of covered this, but in fact, I'm not even going to ask you because I think my question was going to be, looking back at your years at the co-op, what was your biggest disappointment? Was there something besides what we've already talked about?
Losing this one was a disappointment to me. So that was, and not only that I took the loss, it was a disappointment because actually I felt I built it from nothing to a good business, and then turn around and lose it.
And you may already have answered my next question. What were you most proud of? And probably that was the building it up. Huh?
Yeah, building it up. So.
Okay.
I worked hard on it a lot of times, 7 days a week, but we got it done. So.
What about? I know that there was back even in the 70s and 80s there was discussions of mergers. Were you faced with that here? Did they regional suggest to you that you should merge with some other surrounding co-op?
We talked about merging one time with Chelsea and met with them, and they turned us down. Mm-hmm. Our people would have merged with them, but they turned us down. But then we ended up buying. We bought that one in Onacre, and we bought the one in Faulkton. So there's no merger, just a buyout. That's what it was.
Yeah. Had they been co-ops before, or were they
private outfits? Both of them private. So.
Okay. How important is co-op education? Do you still think that that could be an important thing for the co-ops?
I think the majority of the people knows nothing about cooperatives.
Mm-hmm.
So,
is there any way you think that could be remedied?
Well, I think they got a good idea starting these kids and stuff, doing some of that. So,
yeah, there's still a pretty good sized camp in Faulkton, at least I think for this county.
We used to have them up here, lots of kids. You know, so.
Were you involved in I think the local Farmers Union local here built what I think is still the last local meeting hall that was built.
We built that.
And that was in about 1976 or so?
Well, along in there, the managers from the elevator and me and board member from their board and a board member from mine went to Farmers Union and borrowed some money to build that and then paid it back. But we borrowed some money to build that. We didn't have enough. So
it seems to me like the county president at that time was Carl Nolte.
Carl Nolte was. I was the president once.
You were? Okay.
I was for a 3 or 4 year period. So.
Okay.
Yeah, Carl went along with us when we went down there that time. So.
I remember you had some pretty good sized meetings up here.
Oh yeah, we accumulated. Our annual meetings was huge. You know, after we got going, so we filled that hall with people. So.
Are you still use the hall still?
Oh yeah, they still use the hall. We're still Farmers Union Hall. We're still surviving on it, but
okay.
But they've lost all their education fund and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so has the state. So they've lost all them with the way things went. So. Yeah. And we had these was a large amount at one time between the elevator and us. So. We was able to build the hall and pay for it, you know. So
not very many years either.
No, it didn't take too long. So.
What about the current level of co-op loyalty? That's probably been wounded around here by what's happened. How has that impacted the elevator? Are they doing a good business yet?
Yeah, fair, but it's the people are They pay no attention to that anymore.
They don't really feel like they've got local control of it at all.
No, I don't think they do. So
Yeah.
they used to. I had a lot of people that's real loyal to me. So, I sold them everything. But I think that's all changed. Some of me, if you end up losing like that when you shouldn't, it makes them sour.
Yeah, very difficult. What seems like the biggest? What were the challenges obviously that you faced in 1963 are different than the challenges that are out there today? What seems like the biggest change to you? Is it just the size of things, or what?
Yeah, just everything's so outrageous in price and stuff. You just the people are going to shop. If it's $20 cheaper, they're going to buy it. Money talks now, and I think probably when I started here, the service and that stuff counted, the people would pay no attention to it, but they do, the way I see it now.
Yeah. So, you retired in 1985.
Yeah.
What have you been doing since then? You've
crop spray.
Crop spray? And
I bought some sprayers and went into the crop spraying.
Okay.
It's completely relaxing compared to running the cooperative.
Yeah.
Part of it was I had a heart problem, and my doctor told me, he said, get out of that co-op. He said, you'll be fine. He said, you got too much stress. I said, nothing bothers me. I don't have stress. 3 weeks after I got out, it felt good.
Okay. So even at that point, there was enough stress in the co-op business.
Enough. And a lot of it's the employees, the whole works, everything's stressful. When I got on my own, I didn't have that.
Okay. So I'm assuming that in your spraying business, somebody mentioned something about air conditioning. Are you doing something with air conditioning?
I've fixed air conditioners and that kind of stuff for years. So I've done it ever since I had air conditioners.
All right.
And I picked it all up on my own. So
and there's probably not a lot of competition around here for that kind of thing.
My son went to school for it, and he come home and found out a lot of stuff from me. So
okay. So when you're spraying and you're repairing air conditioners, what do you do in your spare time? You got any?
I got the shop out here. I tinker on motors and stuff all the time. So
okay.
I'm busy the year round. So I have my own speed in the wintertime, but in the summertime.
What do you do in the wintertime around here? You can't be spraying, and probably
no.
not a lot of
I work in motors and lawn mowers and different stuff in my shop. So
okay.
I got a heated shop, and I always got something. So
all right. What kind of advice would you give someone today who was thinking about maybe going to work for a co-op if they could find one to work for?
Yeah. Well, I don't. It's a good place to work. So the idea is right. So I think to get you fired up, on the thing, but if it all doesn't work that way today because it's money, but it's at the time when I started, I thought I was really doing something to help the people. Yeah. And I don't know if that's all so today or not, but.
Yeah, people, in other words, people back then believed in what they were doing
more
than just having a job. And, that may or may not be true today.
Yeah, no. Yeah. I think the younger generation has altogether different views than we had many years ago. So I went through the 30s when things was tough. So
yeah. How has the community here changed over the years? Obviously, you've lost that cooperative facility. There wasn't an awful lot besides the co-ops here, but the community still seems to be about the same number of people actually living here.
The town and In the 60s here, we had a whole busload of kids go to school out of here.
Oh, okay.
So they filled the bus here in town.
Wow.
Today, I think there's one kid in town.
Yep.
So that's how it died too.
Yeah. Yeah. What is the population here?
19.
19.
You didn't see the sign out here when you come in?
Oh, no, I didn't. I came in from the south. Maybe I missed the sign.
Oh, the sign just as you come into town up here after you get past Main Street.
Okay.
19 people in town.
All right. I was thinking about finding your place.
Yeah, that'd be something for you to take a picture. We've probably seen it.
Yeah. All right.
We're all here because we're not all there. So 19 people.
Okay.
And that sign was put up a couple of years ago, and it was up about a month, and somebody stole it. So he went and got another sign, put it up, and got that welded on there. So
well, home is home. I guess I was kind of surprised to find that after 20 years of farming in Minnesota, that Jack Smith and his wife decided to move back to retire in Union Center. That's not exactly a mecca for retirement.
I see it every time I get out the hills and go to a funeral or something out there. I always see Jack. So
yeah. Just a couple questions left. Would you describe yourself as an optimist or a pessimist?
Hell, I don't. I guess I never thought about that even. So.
Okay. Is there anything that you would like to talk about that I didn't ask you about? Anything that kind of is that I missed?
No, I think we probably pretty well covered that part, so I don't.
All right. We've been visiting with Elroy Baker. Thank you for participating in the Cooperative Legacy Project.